The radio in my hand squawked almost as soon as I set foot outside, and a second later, Gray's gruff voice boomed from the speaker. "You there, Andra?" I scanned the deserted neighborhood as I held the walkie a few inches from my mouth. The once immaculate lawns were now overgrown, and the houses were dark and as silent as a tomb. There was no rumble of a distant car or hum of air conditioner units, nor any other sound to indicate there were people around, because in the 4 weeks since my family and I had chosen to shelter in place, the world had slipped away. After all the news stations shut down, we'd kept informed as best we could via the internet, but those reports had been sketchy and unreliable at best. Then, even those had become less frequent as more places went dark. A week after Kendall's parents died, Troy caught up with the majority of the world when our power grid failed, and the internet quickly followed, as did the cell towers. The water had been the last to go, but had followed only a couple days later. It was terrifying being shut off from what was going on, and not having a way to get in touch with Davia, whose entire family had been hanging on the last time we spoke. But there was nothing we could do but accept that this was our life now. No electricity, no running water, no internet, and no cell phones. We were on our own. Which was the main reason I'd started talking to Gray every morning. Sighing from exhaustion and stress, I pressed the button on the walkie so I could respond to my brother. "I'm here. No changes yet. The neighborhood is still deserted, and we're still in hiding." A few seconds passed before he responded. "There's gotta be somebody out there." "There is," I said, after giving it a moment to make sure he was done speaking. "But right now, they're hiding like we are. Which is why I want to go today. Get it done before the other survivors get brave." His only response was a grunt of agreement. I wasn't sure why he'd even bothered to push the button. "What about you?" I asked, when he still said nothing. "You venture anywhere yet?" "Don't need to," he replied. "I've got everything I need right here." "What about people, Gray? What's the point of surviving if you're alone?" "I've been alone for years, Andra," he snapped. "Never bothered me before, and it doesn't bother me now." I rolled my eyes. "Well, we're here if you need anything, or just decide you don't want to be alone anymore." "I know." A pause followed. "Stay safe, Andra. I'll talk to you tomorrow." "Tomorrow," I said, then lowered the walkie, knowing Gray was done. He'd always been a man of few words, so it came as no surprise that each morning when I called him, he had very little to say. Not that I had much to say either. There was nothing to really talk about other than the fact that the rest of the world seemed to have disappeared, and we were still hanging on. It was all either of us needed to know at the moment, although I was sure there would come a time when that would change. There were more people out there, I knew it. When they would decide to come out of hiding was the big question. The door opened behind me, and I turned just as Sean stepped onto the porch. My mouth filled with saliva when he held up a steaming mug of coffee. We still had limited power thanks to a generator, and he'd been brewing it when I came outside to call Gray. Seeing it now, I thought I might get down on my knees and kiss Sean's feet. I hadn't gotten much sleep in the last few weeks, and most of the time, I was pretty sure I was surviving on caffeine and hope. "Thanks," I said as I took the mug. "You're welcome." Sean gestured to the walkie. "How's Gray?" "The same." His eyes moved past me to the silent street when I took a big swig from the mug, and I followed his gaze as I swallowed the slightly bitter liquid. It was surreal how quiet and still everything was. Unnerving. Wrong. "Doesn't seem like 10% of the population survived," Sean said after a few seconds. "Maybe they didn't," I replied. "Or maybe there are more. I don't know. But I do know we aren't alone. People are still in shock. They don't know what to do or where to go, but eventually they'll rally